Okay. Good evening. Today is Monday, November 5th, 2018. This is a special meeting and workshop of the Board of Education. If we could please stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening. We have just come from executive session, which we will be returning to. We have not adjourned our executive session. We will return after this meeting for a brief additional executive session. And we're going to start tonight, because this is a special meeting. We have no designated board comments unless there is anything anyone would like to add tonight. No. Okay, then we're just going to go ahead. Okay, we have we're going to do the presentations first and then the little business meeting.
Sure. Okay. And if Michelle, if you're okay with this, I'll just give a very brief introduction, turn it over to Dr. McDonald. But the first presentation is from our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. McDonald, and it is our professional development plan as a school district for the year. And there is a requirement that we submit a detailed PD plan. It is required that there is a committee assembled, which includes, it's led by Dr. McDonald, but it has representation from our building administration, from teachers. I believe even a parent serves on this committee. And then with that feedback from all those different constituents, Dr. McDonald has assembled a plan that meets a number of requirements, and she's going to go through them. But it is required that the board accept this plan. It's on the agenda for after the presentation. If the board agrees to accept it, then I sign off and we do officially submit this plan to New York State. So with that intro, Dr. McDonald.
So there are, in addition to, thank you, Mr. Albano, for those thoughts. In addition to the professional development plan, which is the first part of the presentation, we also have had approved by the state a multi-year instructional technology plan that we thought it would be good to make sure that the members of our community, the members of our board, know what was going on that front as well. So I figured we'd put both in tonight to give you a little information. Our professional development plan, as Mr. Albano said, is something that needs to be developed annually. And it does require a committee. What we do for that committee, actually the state really designs it and tells us who has to be, what constituent members have to be there. But it is, as the state tells us, it serves, not SEVs, as a guidance document, I'll fix that, in the development of all our professional development activities. That's what we do at some faculty meetings, what we do on extended days, and what we do on superintendent's conference days. That's the minimum. We also come up with plans for what else are we going to do. Will we send people to workshops? Will we do other trainings? But that's the minimum of what we have to do. I wanted to take a moment to give a thanks to those who are serving on the committee this year. There's actually one additional name up here that is not on the plan that you have to improve. It was TBA at the time that the plan was printed for you. But the committee does require someone that covers the curriculum for the district, so I serve in that role. It requires a member from the Tuckahoe Administrators Association, and they selected Mr. DeBellis as their official member of the PD committee. It requires teacher representation. You'll see we have 3 teachers that have graciously offered and volunteered their time this year. Ms. Girardi, Ms. Vincenzi, and one of our new teachers, Ms. Nardini, has offered to come in. It requires a parent rep, who is Ms. Tara Galati. She also served last year. We thank her for joining us again. And it also requires a higher education representative, and Dr. Mitchell from over at Manhattanville has offered to be our higher ed sounding board and joins us when he can, and if not, he provides us with input electronically that we use. So every year in the spring, we go ahead and develop a PD survey. Started a couple years ago when I first came into this role, to really hear from our teachers, what is it that you want to learn about? And then we take the time in the spring as a committee to look at those results and try to match it to a strategic plan or goals that the district has to really come up with solid initiatives for the upcoming year. So I figured what I could talk with you about tonight were some of the newer things that came up from last year's survey and work that we did last year. that we are now tackling this year. Interesting to me, it was interesting that co-teaching, which is where we have a general education teacher and a special education teacher in the same classroom working with kids, came up as the top request this past spring. And as we thought about that, we realized that we've had a lot of change in who those partners are over the last few years and who's working together, and how do we make sure that we are maximizing that amazing professional potential of having two certified educators in the same classroom at the same time. So Mr. Spatola, our new Director of Special Education, has secured a partnership with GNR Inclusive Group, and this is all they do, is professional development on inclusive settings where special education students are with gen ed students working with pairs of teachers. So in consultation with the building administrators, they've identified some pairs in each of our buildings that they're going to be coming to actually on Wednesday is their first visit to us. And they'll see how we do things here and then be able to start working with the teams and with other teams in the district on, okay, how do we really get this so that we're maximizing these resources for kids? So we're excited about that. Another thing that we brought in was in the area of youth mental health. We are starting an 8-hour course tomorrow for all of our teachers, which is called Youth Mental Health First Aid. It is managed by the National Council for Behavioral Health, and actually Missouri was the first Department of Health to get online. So they partner together to create this course where we will be starting it tomorrow and then over extended days, and then we'll be ending it in March. It's 8 hours, so we have to figure out how to fit those 8 hours in. Our trainer, who is certified by the National Council for Behavioral Health to teach the youth mental health. She's also certified in their adult version, but we work with youth, so we're doing the youth mental health first aid program. Actually is the director of residential services at St. Christopher's, which is an adolescent residential treatment center. That's her day job kind of idea. And she's coming in. So just to give you a sense of what the program's about, it's basically a program that's designed to teach anyone who cares for adolescents, ages 12 to 18. Teachers are a specific, target area for that, who are experiencing a mental health or an addiction challenge or are in crisis. So what they're really going to work on is introducing us to the common mental health challenges for youth, reviewing typical adolescent development, and giving teachers a 5-step action plan for how to help young people in crisis and non-crisis situations. So when they identify it, how do they identify what's going on, and how do we, as we started learning with our teachers last June, give warm handoffs to the professionals who can really help kids, those that are actually certified and who are actually trained in mental health, our psychologists, our counselors, outside providers. How do our teachers who are on the front lines and with our kids every day, when they notice something, how do they notice? What's worth noticing, and what do we do with what we learn? So the topics are going to cover things like anxiety, depression, substance use and abuse, disorders where there might be a psychosis in there, disruptive behaviors, and eating disorders are the main topics. So we are excited to be starting that with our teachers. And that grew out of some work, again, that we did last year where we brought in people to talk with our staff, all of our staff, actually, on a superintendent's conference day about suicide awareness and prevention. So it's grown out of that work. Social emotional learning is another piece that this district is taking on this year. We have committed to participating in a social emotional learning strategic planning project, and that is through Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. And there's a team of 6 of us who are going to be going for multiple days up there to really learn what are the knowledge and skills that we need to be able to design a systemic social emotional learning program K-12 in a district. How do we do that work? We're going to utilize the CASEL framework. Don't know if you know of that, but New York State uses it as a social emotional learning framework to figure out how our district will design an actual program and what's going to happen at each grade level and all of that work. So we will, by the end of that program, have developed a plan for the district strategically so that then we can also develop a rollout plan and how that will look in schools. We were able to do that actually through one of the new state grants. We were able to fund that, so we were excited to be able to put some of that money into good work for our kids. So those are kind of the newest. Just remind you of some of the things that we always do that are very important, that are still part of our plan. Technology. We continue to support our teachers. Super thanks to Kathy Mosier and James Moore, who are our peer tech coaches. They have release time from some of their teaching duties to work directly with our teachers every day on implementing technology successfully in their classrooms. In addition to that, with my new role, I will be providing direct support and professional development in technology, including our new Tiger Lab that we talked about at a prior workshop, which is our Technology Innovation for Growth and Excellence in Research Lab, which is where our teachers come down and they get to play with stuff and then decide, hey, do I want to try this in my classroom? Right now I have some of the experimental furniture in there is out in classrooms, so my lab's looking a little less full, which is okay because it's actually being used with students and trying out some of the pieces. One of our portable projectors is up in a room that a co-teacher works in, so they could have two presentation stations, the one that's built in and this portable one, so when she wants to work with a small group, she can just project what she needs to project from wherever she is. So we're doing that. English as a second language. All of our teachers every year do have professional development in how we help students who English is a new language to these students. We partner with the Hudson Valley RBERN, which stands for the Regional Bilingual Education Resource Network. They are a group whose task is to help local districts, help students who are new to the English language. And they come and provide us with professional development every year. Focus is depending on what the focus is of the year. Our staff helps to define that. One year we focused on what's called the integrated ENL model, where the teacher of English as a second language pushes into the class and helps. And how does that look? And then how do we help those students who don't know English as well when they're not there? So that was one focus. How do we as all gen ed teachers help the student who doesn't know every language piece that we're saying when that teacher's not there to help support? One year we focused on vocabulary and how do we manage complex vocabulary or contextual vocabulary or subject area vocabulary that can sometimes get pretty dense when English is not your first language, and how do we help students with that? So each year we ask our teachers what they'd like to do, and that will happen this year as well. Oh, another new one actually, our CSEA members, our aides, TAs, secretaries, and custodians, their unit asked us, could they get a little more training in how to help people in a medical crisis? So we are providing them with CPR training and certification tomorrow. Everyone who signed up can get certified. And we also were able to tack on a first aid training as well. We think the more hands in the building that know how to help anyone that happens to be in a medical crisis, and again, that handoff to those who can, right, they're not a surgeon, they're a first aid person, the better. So we're excited to offer that. So those are the new things that you'll see in a boring little chart in the document because it's formatted the way it needs to be. Our instructional technology plan. So this is something new from the state. Required us to create a brand new 3-year instructional technology plan. What I mean by brand new is we've always had to have one, but they gave us a year off for them to completely revamp it and make it much more challenging for us to write. So that's okay. We deal with it. And what I just want to highlight for you, it has been approved by the state. This one does not go through the board to be approved. It goes from the committee that created it, and it goes up through the BOCES, the LYRIC, and then up to the state ed. They can kick it back for feedback and responses. Ours was accepted on the first time through, which is great. We were one of the early districts, which was also nice to have it done. And we did have to make 3 goals. So we worked on it in our tech committee, and these were the 3 goals. I just wanted you to know what our basic big goals are for the next 3 years. Every year we modify them as depending on where we are. So the first goal that we made for ourselves was to work toward accessibility on our website using the guidelines for ADA compliance. The Americans with Disabilities Act has very specific guidelines for how you need to make your websites accessible. And when if you think about a website and being accessible, think about those who may have auditory challenges, so they couldn't hear the sounds you might have visual challenges, so that they can't see everything on the website. One of the common things that gets a lot of people is actually color contrast. If you don't have a certain ratio of the dark to the light, there are people who, though they are not blind, can't read it because it's just too close in color. So we've been working with 2 partners on that so far. eChalk, who hosts our website, I actually had to have a very intense conversation with them about the problems of things I couldn't change as an end user that were violating the ADA guidelines, and they're working on it, making what they write back of house compliant. And then we're working with a company called Site Improve, and what that company does is a constant trolling of the website and highlights for us what's still wrong, what PDFs are not compliant. And to be a compliant PDF means that people who have software that can read a page for you, e-readers, can actually follow it, and it doesn't jump across the columns, that you've created it correctly back of house, so it knows this is a column, not read these 5 words and then jump to the next paragraph. Right? There are ways to set up PDFs to tag them so that an e-reader could read it correctly. So it alerts us to all of that. So we do have a couple of webmasters and myself here in the district that every day we chip away at this a little bit, and we are working toward getting our website more compliant. So that's a piece. Our second goal is an exciting one. It's a curricular piece. We're redefining curriculum and instruction for Tech Ed K-12 to include 3 strands: a digital citizenship strand, K-12, a computer science, actual programming type strand, and then what we decided when we wrote this to call it technical competencies. How do I create a web page? How do I create a presentation? How do I create a spreadsheet? Right? Those usage pieces. And we chose to start with middle school. So middle school this past summer rewrote the technology elective for grades 6, 7, and 8. So they did work in this. We started it actually during the school year last year. Worked with CS for All on it, which is an organization promoting computer science. We were accepted into a program with them, so we did go do that. And that's going to take us, the years, and every time we write something new will need to be added, right? So, but we're excited about that because it has not been fully looked at K-12 in a long time. And the third one, continually explore new and flexible technology for new learning spaces. I think I'll be able to keep that goal for the rest of my career because it's got the word new in it, and it's got the word explore in it. Right? There's always something new out there. And we added in the concept of new learning spaces because we do think that our furniture and our environment do impact how we learn and how we utilize the technology that's in front of us. If it's too awkward to move stuff around, then students won't think in different kinds of groupings and try projects together. So technology and spaces together. Those are our 3 goals that were approved, and that's what we're working on the next 3 years. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. You want to go back up?
Yeah.
Sure, whatever you want.
Let's go to the mics.
And I'll fix the typo.
Cynthia, did
No,
you have a question?
I wasn't
Go ahead.
sure. I was waiting until she had.
Questions
All
or
right.
comments?
No, just a quick question. I mean, a lot of those, I'm excited to see a lot of the goals up there. It looks like a lot of good stuff happening. I had one question with the committee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I noticed, there was, I don't know how the makeup has to be, but there was elementary and high school, and Nardini, is she high school or middle school?
She's high school, yes.
She
We did
is.
not have anyone
No
from the
middle
middle
school.
school
Oh.
volunteer to be a part of the
Okay.
committee. And
Oh.
the members of the PD committee, I should just say PD committee, not professional development plan committee,
Right.
have to be selected by their unit, by their association. So there are certain committees where we can define them as we want. Our technology committee is defined however we want it. The PD committee, by regulation, each group needs to choose their own members. So the PTA selected their member as the parent.
Okay, got
the
it.
The Administrative Association selected their member. The TTA selected their members. So yes, so I I take what I get, and I'm actually very happy with this.
No,
this
it's
program.
it looks
But that
like a
would be
good
why.
group.
Yeah, if no one
Yeah, I was just
volunteered through
curious
their
if she was.
I just want to say
Last year we
that
had 2 middle school people. Yeah.
I think this is the first time I actually remember being on the board where the professional development plan was presented to the community, and I just think it's really so important
It's true. You
because
proved it
this
last year.
work is so important, and I just want to highlight that when I first came on this board 7 years ago, 8 years ago now it is 7, the budget for professional development in this district was $0. So because there was no money for it, there was no discussion about it. And I just think that it is probably one of the top most important work we do, because supporting our teachers, teaching our teachers, making sure that they have the knowledge they need to pass that on to our students, I just think we really need to emphasize the importance of that. And I think seeing it in this format and presenting it to the community is very important, because it shows that we're, it's an initiative of ours that we're, feel very strongly about, and I just want to thank you for bringing it forward. I did have a question or two about it. One thing I wanted to know was, on that 8-hour course, is that, and you stressed that it was for students, working with students that are 12 to 18. So are only teachers in the middle school and high school going to
Good
take
question.
that class?
No, we committed to do the training. I spoke with the trainer about that. I said, the way that it's marketed is for 12 to 18, but no. I said, have you done this? K-12, she said, absolutely. I've done it in school districts. K-12, it's important for our the people who work with younger staff as well. Yes,
Agreed.
thank you. That was
Very,
the
very
original target market for the program, but no, they have done it, and we will be doing it, all our teachers, K-12.
Great. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you, quick ones. And I couldn't agree more with Michelle. I think it's great to see that you have that. It's great to see that now we're committed to providing you guys with the resources in order to continue to be better. I mean, we've talked about this over the years. We talked about it with the capital project. We want to evolve. We want to continue to be better. We want to continue to be great. And I think when this type of development, that allows for that. So I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully the teachers feel equally as energetic as I could see you were as you
kept getting so
kind of spoke
fast.
about it.
I'm so excited.
That's great. And I was just curious, you mentioned that there was a survey that went out. That participation, that was for administrators, all teachers?
And all CSEA, yes. So the first question is, which unit do you belong to? So then we could break out, and disaggregate it as to what, and I actually had different questions once they told us what unit they were in terms of what kind of learning they
And it
wanted
was
to
good
have, whether they were.
participation?
Say again?
The participation was favorable?
Yep.
Well, that's good to hear. And then in regards to the co-teaching, anything as far as you mentioned, they're going to come in and there's going to be training. What's the frequency of that? And is that something that's going to be going on throughout the year, all year long? Are there certain designated days?
Right.
Or
There are certain designated days, and we can only afford 2 of them on site this year. I appreciate your thoughts about funding. Almost all of our professional development is grant funded. We don't actually have a lot in our budget. It is thankfully higher than 0, but it's not much. It's a couple $1,000. And so we could afford 2 days of them on site, and then there are partners, off site to share ideas. And so one's now, and I believe Mr. Spatola booked the other one in the spring.
well, I'd just make a recommendation is that we kind of keep that top of mind and see what the budget looks like and then how favorable it is, and then consider maybe more next year for next year's budget.
I also wanted to say thank you. You kept it, the language really simple, so I think it makes for everyone out there really easy to, to see the goals.
Okay.
So that was actually very
Hopefully
good. Good job.
I'll just conclude by saying thank you to Dr. McDonald and the team that worked very, very hard. This is a very thoughtful process, a very thorough process. And to the board and the community, what we heard tonight is just the beginning of a discussion. A lot of these initiatives you will see as we develop our next strategic plan. We're still in the early stages of that. We are still doing a needs assessment. Surveys will be going out shortly to the community. They're probably within the next week or two. But then also throughout the budget process, we will start that this winter. Some early discussions in December internally, but by January, February, we will be having public discussions. And many of the things that you've listened to and learned about this evening, they will come up again, because we do want to align our budget goals with our educational goals. So again, I thank you.
One last
Well
one.
done.
Last one. in regards to the information technology.
Yes.
Again, great. I agree with Cynthia. Nice, concise, to the point, easy to follow, and not too long-winded. But you mentioned were the electives for computer science was being offered for the middle school. Were there also any other additional programs or additions to curriculum at the lower grade or at the high school?
Yeah,
the
that's
children?
first step was middle. Yeah,
Okay.
when we met as a team with CS for All last year, we had to commit to where to start. So we started with the redesign of what we currently do in 6, 7, 8. And so then the next steps are, absolutely, yes, we then go look at, actually, because high school has some pretty well-established courses, where actually next step is down to K-5 and reimagining and redoing that, which lines up nicely with when our innovation lab that we're going to build next summer comes online. With then how will that, as a space and with a teacher in that space, integrate into what our K-12, technology education program will be. Yes, so the next step is COTM. And then
Yeah,
up
it would
to
be
high school,
great
yes.
if maybe toward the end of the year, if maybe you could come back and give just an update of what the thoughts are on this front going into
Sure.
the next school year. That would
Yeah.
be nice to hear.
Yeah, I
Most
was-
of our
I was
actual
actually
writing
hoping
of
more.
curriculum happens over the summer. So most of the writing is over the summer, but I can give you some planning for that, sure, in the spring. But we rarely write curriculum during the year, kind of busy teaching, so.
Understood.
With regard to the strands,
Yes, and they could change their names, but that's where they are now,
I
yes.
assume that they're sort of interwoven into the regular classes that are already being, or are they separate classes?
It can be both. Right now, those 3 are taught in separate electives in grades 6, 7, 8. We created that this year. Yes, they're actually direct digital citizenship lessons in each of those grade levels, direct computer science coding / robotics pieces, and direct how do we, create presentations, how do we do those things. Yes,
And they go
in
over
that
every-
actual class.
Every child gets all 3 strands, or are
Every year,
they, every
yeah,
grade
all,
level?
right, every
Strands.
single grade level has all 3 strands.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not like the digital citizenship year. Every year we'll have some digital citizenship. Every year we'll have some coding and CS stuff, and every year we'll have a piece of how do we use, technology in the real world.
In its own class.
Currently, the middle school, yes, you'll probably see a different model for college.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So our next presentation is really a follow-up to an agenda item from last week, which was basically taking a large donation and a portion of that and allocating it for SAT prep at our high school. So we invited our high school principal, Dr. Bart Linehan, who will give you a follow-up and a bit more detail.
Yeah, just a follow-up to the donation, the Carapella grant and the SAT, ACT program. First, I'd like to thank our guidance department for the initiative, Mr. Costa, Mr. Tolles, Mr. Perillo, and of course, Ms. Nicolettos, who does so much behind the scenes. The grant is funded by a donation from the estate of Angela Carapello to Tuckahoe High School, and we thank the Carapello family for this generous gift. I really appreciate the support of this testing program, because now we're able to really impact in the future well over 100 students rather than giving out a few scholarships at graduation. So, to use a business term, the bang for the buck is really, very, very high. Just to how we got to where we are, we met with Jumpstart Tutoring, a reputable tutoring company, which we worked with before, and they are very collaborative with us. The second week in September, part of the points of the meeting were the significance of having pre-tests for the students, a communication plan, including letters to parents, reminders, telephone calls, and classroom visits. We updated central office on the program. October 16th, all the junior parents were mailed home a letter explaining the program. We had daily morning announcements for the juniors for 3 weeks and weekly updates in my letter. And our guidance counselors visited each junior class to explain the program. The results is we have about 90% of the junior class signed up for the program. So it's been so positive, we may have to ask for a few $1,000s more next meeting. We'll see how that goes. Tomorrow there'll be an SAT pre-test given to all the juniors who signed up, and on November 21st, an ACT pre-test for the juniors. So let me just give you a little bit of information on the program. The ACT and the SAT test, the pre-test is really criteria for placement on what tests the students want to be tutored for, what they want to put their focus on. An overview of the test, both of the ACT and the SAT, have writing and language components, a reading segment, and math. The math aspect for both exams is Algebra 1 and 2, Geometry and Trigonometry. The difference is the SAT has data analysis, the ACT has statistics and probability, and the SAT, also has a segment where there's there's two segments on the SAT, one math with a calculator and one math without a calculator. So that's a big difference. And the ACT is another big difference. It has a science segment to their exam. So once the students take the pretest, they get their results. They'll then have a chance to meet with an Jumpstart consultant to review the results of the test, to see what their strengths may be, do a little bit of data analysis, and then they'll sign up for an 8-session course, tutoring course, a small group course with Jumpstart in order and really work toward that specific exam. That will be the Jumpstart program. We expect to start that in January once all the results are done. So the students will be participating in that at Jumpstart. Additional guidance initiatives I want everybody aware of, which has been up there for a while on the high school website. If you go to the department section, there's actually review tests, ACT and SAT tests. Our guidance department has really worked very hard to put together, I think, one of the best websites in the county. You can get a SAT, ACT registration, accommodations, subject tests. There's also college planning and admission, tours and visits to colleges, and an application checklist. So there's a lot there on the website for the students and parents to take a look at. What we're doing in the curriculum area for the SAT and the ACT within the district, in the English department, and throughout really with the Writing Revolution, it's now multidisciplinary. We have sentence structures. This goes back to both the ACT and the SAT. Transition words, i.e. conjunctions, subject-verb agreement, that's what's on both tests, punctuation, diction, vocabulary, and paragraph development. I can't tell you how much the Writing Revolution has enhanced the focus on that because, first of all, it really takes what's on these tests and brings in strategies for the students to work with them in the curriculum on a daily basis. And also it's made it more multidisciplinary. Now they're getting, working on grammar and writing in social studies and science. So that's been a big plus for the district. So the Student Choice Reading Program, where students read books of their choice and do literary analysis, as they would with a novel. For instance, the class is reading Great Gatsby. They'll take a book of their own choosing and do the same literary analysis they would for a class read text. So they work on comprehension, both literal and inferential comprehension. And finally, visual literacy has been a big plus too, because what it does is the digital essays really refine students' skills in analysis, both in a visual analysis and a textual analysis. And I'm a big believer that for non-readers, the visual literacy brings them into the textual reading. So they see it, they create a film or see a film, and they basically have to do an analysis, a digital essay analysis on that visual. But then they have to go to the text and do the same thing. And now they're much more interested in the text because of the visual medium. In math, a lot of the math regents now have been our SAT-type questions when it went with the Common Core. The district has the method test prep program, which has SAT and ACT questions for students to practice on. As you are all aware, there's now more real-world applications in math. Both tests seem to have it, more the ACT, in my opinion. We also work on the no calculator part. That's part of the SAT, so students don't feel uncomfortable. I think it's societal though with calculators. They are wedded to the calculators, and that's an issue with the ACT. Obviously, we have a lot of reading now in math. Both tests and our curriculum focus on word problems in mathematics. And as I mentioned before, the Writing Revolution has also been a great asset in math because of the word problems. So that's really a synopsis of where we are regarding and I thank the Carapella family for the donation. It's been, and I think, giving out scholarships is wonderful, but it's at the end of their term here. And, the fact that we are able to really facilitate all the students who are interested in this. And The theory is that not only do we get to more students, but hopefully the students who do well in the SATs will come back and give us donations, so we can keep this going perpetually. So it's a little pie in the sky, but we're gonna go for it.
Thank you, Dr.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart.
Okay, all right, we're going to just move on now to business of the board. Number one is personnel
I think
recommendations.
you could just do A through J.
Do what?
You can
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, A
Vote.
through J.
You guys didn't even give me a chance to make a mistake yet. I actually do. Resolve to approve personnel items A through J below. Is there a motion?
I know
Thank you,
you've been
Cynthia.
traveling a long time.
Is there a motion, Cynthia? Yes, Cynthia, second. Pete, all in favor, discussion, I'm sorry. All in favor? Okay, number two, adopt a professional development plan. Resolve to adopt the 2018-19 professional development plan as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. Is there a motion? Cynthia, second. Pete, discussion? Okay, and that's the presentation we had. All in favor? Number three, approve an agreement. Resolve to approve a management advisory group Business Operations, Inc. for accounting services for the period of November 15th, 2018 through February 28th, 2019 at a cost of $3,333 per month. Is there a motion? Rob, second. Pete, discussion?
Lee, would you like to just explain briefly what it is?
Service that will help the district while our treasurer is on a leave of absence. And what we've done is, because we have not been able to find a full-time leave replacement in the treasury area, Management Advisory Group will take on all the reporting and the other responsibilities of the treasurer function. We also plan to find out the bookkeeping function to an accountant that we're interviewing this week, and I will be taking on the cash transfers and the wire transfers and the cash management function in Dave's absence. So I think Management Advisory Group is well known throughout the area. They do a lot of work for different districts in the area, and I think they come well recommended, and I recommend them.
Great. All in favor? Okay, now we will go back to executive session, so we are not going to adjourn. I just did want to put out a little reminder. We announced in the beginning of this school year that the board has started with business hours. We will operate business hours before the regular scheduled meetings of the month. So our next meeting is November 19th, and office hours will be from 6 to 7 p.m. Anyone interested in meeting with the board, and there will be 2 representatives from the board at the meeting, should be in touch with Lauren, our district clerk, and the information is on our website, and anyone interested, please reach out to us to make that appointment by Wednesday before the meeting is what we're asking for. Okay, that's going to be it. Thank you.
Thank you.